Well, 33 years of marriage, you should have some pretty interesting perspectives on what love is. What do you see, like reflecting over your life now, what do you see, what do you think love is?
Yeah, I could say when you're first get married and you know each other maybe not that well, or you might, it's very physical. And after a while, you go through problems and you work them out. And it's just caring about the other person and you as a unit rather than you really as one person. And working, you have to work at it. Yeah.
So you see it as something that's bigger than each person, whether,
Yeah.
right?
It's something you really can't put a word on because it encompasses your existence, your life.
It's interesting then the way that you think about it, because it can take on so many forms, right? But everybody, we like to use this one same word, right?
Yeah.
How do you think it's changed, as much as you want to say, for you over time? What do you think some of the differences are, and what you discovered maybe when you were a girl thinking about what it would be like, and then the reality of it?
Well, there's all kinds. I mean, love toward a husband or love to a child or a family is different. You know, you love your children unconditionally. And maybe when you get married, there are conditions under which you love your husband, and if he doesn't fulfill them, a lot of people get divorced, but you could also work through them. So, you know, love is very unconditional for a child. You love them before they're even born, because they're part of you.
Right. So do you see then, is what you're saying that loving a child is in some way loving some reflection of yourself too?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Do you have children?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
Two girls.
Interesting. And how does love change for a child from, say, even before they're born to the time that, you know, where they are in your life right now? How has that love changed?
Love is fulfilling what their needs are, and might not be your needs at that time, but what, in your judgment as a parent, what you feel is right for them would make them a better person as they grow up. Mm-hmm. And being supportive of them.
What do you think the biggest challenge to love of, say, a spouse is, or just a lover or anything? You know?
I have to meet my husband in 5 minutes.
That's a pretty big challenge, right?
So my challenge is to get there before he starts screaming.
My name is Lou. I work in Manhattan. I just got a job in Manhattan, and I'm 22 years old. And love to me is when you're not using someone for like sex or money, when you actually need them without using them.
Right. And so, what if you're using them? What is it then?
Using them, it's not love. It's more like pleasure. Like, you know, I want to get laid tonight. I'm gonna call this girl. That's not love, really. Love is when you need that girl to come over, regardless of what happens and what you do that night.
Okay.
In my opinion.
What about the city? I mean, are you from Manhattan?
I'm
or
from the Bronx.
Are you from the Bronx?
Yeah.
And thinking about love, you know, thinking about New York, thinking about love, what do you think most of it is here in the city? How do people think about love in New York, the way you see it?
How do they think about it? I think a lot of people are like misguided by it. They think that like just because they have pleasures doing certain things, they think that's love. To me, that's more of an obsession or a pleasure than it is love. You know, I think love is when you truly need someone, regardless of what you get out of them.
Right.
You know.
Has this always been the way you thought about it, like when you were younger?
No.
How did you think about it when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, love was just like, oh, I'm in love with that girl. She just walked by, she's gorgeous. Wow, I'm in love with her.
Right. Not that one specifically. No.
Not her.
Don't film her.
Don't film her. But maybe her. But anyway, yeah. You know, I got a lot of, you know, if you see a really pretty girl walk by when you're young, maybe you kissed a really beautiful girl. You know, you might think right away you're in love with her because you're obsessed with her. You're not in love with her. You're obsessed.
So did you, from that kind of obsession or that kind of lust, whatever it is, did you ever have a really bad experience with that that came out of that, or no?
Not really a bad experience. More of just like it's more of a hangout than an experience. You know, it's more of a good time than it is a relationship.
How do you know when to cut it off?
You cut it off when you don't need that person, when it's just for fun and just for fun, really.
Yeah.
How many times have you been in love?
How many times have I been in love?
Yeah. Have you ever been? I mean, I'm
Tough
talking
one.
about from the
Yeah, no,
complete depth of
no,
my
not
mind.
really, not really, not like crazy in love.
What caused you not being in so love? I mean, what is the reason
Because
why?
I just like girls in general. So for me to say that I'm absolutely 100% in love with one of them and want to totally commit to one of them like that, I feel that I'm too young for that.
Too young?
Yeah, I feel that I feel you shouldn't be that way till you're married. When you're with that one person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. For that reason, that's what marriage is. It's a commitment to that one person.
Right.
Other than that, what's the point of just totally committing to one person if you're not married to them?
Right.
In my opinion.
Well, I guess there's a question too. How old do you think today, looking around, everybody marries at different ages?
Yeah, it's true.
How old do you think you should be when you start to feel that way, where you're like committed? Is there a time that you can think
Good
of?
question. It could happen when you're 16. It could happen when you're 82. It's not necessarily the time. It's more the person.
Was there ever a time that you thought you were in love with a girl and then you realized later that you weren't?
Maybe for a night, if you know what I mean. A girl might have left my house or my room, and I might have loved her for a few hours, but after that, after that, it's just a feeling, you know. It's a shortened, not long time. It's a short time pleasure. It's not.
lust.
It's lust. It's exactly what it is.
Right.
You know, it's more of a lust. Exactly what it is.
Okay, so thinking about lust and love, really thinking about love, like what is it when you think about love? Is there some example that you've seen either in your life or something that just like it sticks in your head that that's the way that you think it should be, beyond just the lust, beyond the physical, beyond just like that night of
That night of happiness.
night of happiness? Yeah.
Something beyond that.
Yeah.
Like what it really should be, an example of it.
Yeah, just when something that comes to your mind, like if you think it could be a movie, it could be
Yeah.
some people in your own life or whatever.
Yeah, I understand. Like, I would say there's this movie called Love and Basketball, where there's two people. It's Omar Epps and this beautiful girl, and they both play basketball and they grow up together, and they're really just friends in the beginning. You know, they were neighbors, they were friends, they both played sports, and they used to go to school together every day. But at the end, after they've dated a bunch of people, they realized that the true love was right in front of them. They were both in love with each other. And at the end of the movie, they ended up getting married, even though that the whole life they were just friends. I think that's love, when you like realize that you need someone and that they could be right in front of you, they could be from another country, but once you meet them, you know it.
So tell, who are both of you? Just, whatever, anything you want to say about yourself.
Well, my name is Rosella, and I think that love is, understanding, compassion, unconditional, trust, honesty, faithfulness, loyalty, respect, boundaries, I can go on and on. You know what I mean?
Have you been in love?
Yeah.
Okay, what was it like? Can you tell us?
Woo.
What is it as opposed to when you are not in love?
Well,
Close your eyes and imagine what it was like to and share.
when
it
I
with
was
us.
in love,
Yes.
And are you right now too? I guess.
Are you all right now?
Yeah.
well, I would say I was. I still am a little, but not as much as I was before. But it's a good feeling, when you're in love, because you let go, a part of you to give to another, and you sharing your love with the other person, and it's not all about you anymore. It's about two, you and that person. And so, but being not in love is, for me, is like a messed up feeling, because you feel like you want to enjoy being in love. You want to experience what it's like to hold hands, to hug each other, and be able to talk to that person, not only as a companion, but like as a best friend. being close to them, being able to open up, being able to have that respect enough to be able to trust them. So
Does trust come first?
yes, trust does come first. I believe that when you're in love with someone and you care about them, you gotta really take that. When you take oaths and you tell that person that you're gonna be by them and stick by them no matter what the consequence. That's why they call it unconditional love. That's why I'm still around. You know what I'm saying? Why? If I didn't love him or didn't care, I would have been like, look, later. You know what I'm saying? But it's hard when you really do love a person because you just can't back out just like that.
How long have you been in love with that person? Yeah.
3.5 years.
Uh-huh.
And we had our good times, our bad times, but in relationships there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. Whoever tell anybody that there's such thing as perfect, there's bullshit. Excuse my language.
It's okay.
There's no such thing as Brady Bunch families or the Brady Bunch, or there's no such thing as Cinderella. You know what I'm saying?
So why do you think that if that doesn't really exist, why is it that Hollywood or why is it the TV
they make
industry?
These things up because that's what they want. That's what they look for. Everybody wants a Cinderella marriage,
Yep.
Everybody wants something like the Brady Bunch family, everybody to be happy. There's no consequences behind that. Everybody wants a perfect marriage. But this is reality. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage, perfect relationship. Everything has its ups and its downs. Everything has its limit. Simple as that.
What's the most confusing thing about love?
Well, let me see. In what way you mean? Like towards the other person?
Yeah, I mean, what maybe is the most difficult thing about it that to figure out, to understand about love?
Is why people cheat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm one did that.
Why people cheat. Why people.
If you are in love, why would you cheat? I mean,
That's what I'm saying. He asked me. Oh, I'm sorry. He asked me a question of what's the most difficult thing about love, and that's my perspective is why do people cheat when they're in love?
Well, I guess there's a question then: is what is there a difference between physical love or just anything physical and then spiritual love? Is there some difference?
Yes, difference. Physical love is where you just want to just bang them. You know what I mean? Just want to have sex and you just have sex and that's it. And there doesn't come no emotional attachment towards that. But at the same time, even when people do have casual sex and they just have sex and that's it, sometimes down the road it does become emotional attachment towards that. But at the same time, the spiritual love is more like, it's more profound, it's more within your heart, and your mind and your soul.
So here's a question for either of you, for both of you. How do you know that something is more than just a feeling, something physical? How do you know? How would you know that it's
Love,
real
when
spiritual
you go
love?
out there, let me tell you, you know how I knew I was in love? When I used to run after my man with no motherfucking shoes on, chasing that nigga down the block, and trying to tell him to get back here, you know what I'm saying? Or chasing the man, or either a man chasing a woman down the block. I ain't had no shoes on. I was chasing him down the block after we had a fight, you know what I'm saying? And you find yourself doing crazy things when you're in love. Yeah, compromise, you know what I mean? I wasn't thinking about my shoes. I was thinking about him. You know what I'm saying?
That's interesting too, because one thing that I heard you say too is that like after an argument too, are there things that you learn about the way that you feel sometimes after an argument about how you love somebody?
Yeah, because you deal with it. You take your partner's, his attitudes. And when you're in a relationship, you take everything. You know what I'm saying? You take their attitudes, their looks, They're you take them like educational wise, you know, whether they're not as smart, whatever the case may be. But you take them however they are and you deal with it, you work around it, you know, and you try to figure out how you can work with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what love is. You take them no matter how they are, you know what I'm saying? And if you really, really love them, yeah, you deal with it, you know what I'm saying? But you deal with it in a respectable manner, you know what I'm saying? You don't, like, try to do revenge on them, you know, you try to work around it.
What happens if you? What do you think it is when you feel like you've been in love with somebody and then you feel that feeling? You were talking about revenge, right? Where does that come from? Why do people want revenge?
Say for instance, like, if my man was to cheat on me, okay, see, a lot of people think, okay, all right, well, if he cheats on me, it's over, you know? That's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You cannot control your heart. Your heart is gonna still love him. If you're really in love with a person, you won't accept it, but you would try to forgive. Yeah, tolerate it. You'd be like, okay, you cheated on me. Well, you know, but do you love me? You know what I'm saying? And
do you try to understand? Do you think it's important to understand why they cheated? To hear from them and to understand.
Cheat. I mean, no, it's not necessarily men, but people cheat for honesty reasons, and I'm gonna tell you right now, people cheat, and when they do cheat, it's not a mistake. There's no such thing as there's such things as mistake, but 1 out of 100 or 90 out of 100 motherfuckers know what they be doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They fuck because they wanna fuck, not because I don't give a shit if a man came up to me. He could be Brad Pitt. I'd be like, listen.
instinct.
Yeah, I'd be like, listen, I got a man. Listen, I don't give a fuck if you look good. You might be fine or whatever. You might offer me money. I don't give a shit. I love my man, and that's who I want to be with. Now, if I choose to say, well, you know what? My man ain't got to know. Let me fuck this nigga, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. But then a lot of people think that, oh, if a man touch you, oh, you got to get all aroused and, you know, or if a woman touch you, drop her drawers or something, you got to have sex with them. That's bullshit. You know, I hear a lot of men say, oh, it was a mistake, I got drunk, you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or women say, oh, well, you know, I had got in an argument with my man, so I'm going to go around and cheat, you know what I mean? I mean, come on, that's petty stuff. That's immature. You know what I'm saying? You got to see, and first of all, any man or woman knows when a man or a woman is coming on to them, when they flirting with them. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to excuse yourself from that. You know what I'm saying? And say, you know what, I already know what he's trying to do. Let me excuse myself before anything goes any further. And everybody knows themselves. You know what I'm saying? There's no such thing as mistake. They fuck because they want to fuck.
So actually, that's a good question too. Everybody always talks about love. They always talk about spiritual love, deep emotional. What about just physical love? What's the best part of physical love?
There's no such thing as physical love is just when you
or lust even, you know.
Well, lust is not really love.
Yeah.
Lust is just something where you just feel like fucking them when you see them. You know what I mean? You're not really interested in their mind or their heart. You're just interested in their, you know, appearance.
Yeah.
So that's not love at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about yourself. What's your name? Where are you from? Those sorts of things.
My name is Ryan Brack. I'm from Farmington, New Mexico, but now I live here in New York City.
How long have you been in New York?
7 years.
7 years. And what do you think of love in the big city?
It can be a little difficult. It can also be one of the easiest places as well. People
Right.
are in close proximity to each other. They kind of are forced to interact with each other as well. Obviously, though, living in Manhattan, I'll speak for in particular because that's the only place I've lived in. It can also be hard. Things are always happening. I'm sure you've heard a million times being in Manhattan, you know, hey, let's do something, and then it never really materializes. There's just so many different stimulus here in the city.
Definitely. How has your idea of love changed since moving to the city?
I don't really know that it has. I think people really have an idea of what love is, and if it's something that's part of their core ideology, it really isn't changed by the outside factor.
That makes sense. Well, then I guess what do you think? Think back maybe I don't know, 15 years or something like that. How has it changed in your own life? Maybe regardless of where you've lived. What your ideas on that?
Think back to when I was 10.
Yeah, sure. Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think what happens when you get older is things become less black and white and there's more grays. Growing up, I think maybe you have a clear-cut idea of what you think the world should be, including what love should be. And as you get older, you kind of realize that things don't always happen as you plan, and that, obviously love isn't exactly as definable as you once thought it was.
Right. And what do you think about just something about like the physical aspects of love, like how is that part of the experience of love? Physicality, carnality, sexuality, sensuality, etc.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously, as much as people might not want to admit it, I think beauty is a significant part of what love is.
Right.
I mean, and it goes back to what people think love is. Is it something esoteric, or is it based on mutual needs that both people fulfill for each other? And I think that physicality has a large part to do with that.
Right.
I think people have a problem admitting that beauty is part of that equation.
So yeah, is it that thing where admitting that beauty is skin deep is difficult for people to?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. And how easily? I mean, people fall in love, people fall out of love. How easy is it for you to fall in love? How easy is it for you to fall out of love? And what is that all about?
I guess it depends on how willing somebody is to challenge your own definitions of what love is. Some people place not only in love, but in their other way they think about life, place a definition over their personal experience. That they have a definition of what love is, and they should be in a one kid family, or they base who they're in a relationship on if this other person wants to get married or if they want to have kids. And so everybody's definition on love changes based on what priority they give certain.
Do you think it's more difficult for somebody to love who has a very strict definition of it, or do you think, I mean, is it easier for someone to love if they don't tightly define what it is, or what do you think?
I would assume it would be easier without tight definitions, but on the flip side, maybe it's easier for them to identify who they are and who they are with a strict set of definitions. They don't have to search so hard and spend so much time with the person. If they have A through Z list of parameters and that person fits it, then maybe it's a quick
Right.
match. For me, that's not really
Right.
the way that love would work.
What was the best thing you ever either read or saw, whether it was a film or a book or just something somebody told you about that subject? What sticks in your mind?
I guess it would have to be understated depictions of love, and love that comes through in the face of like adversity, or where love kind of has to triumph and has to struggle over somebody maybe coming from a different background, or having different living in a different place than somebody else, or the classic like Romeo and Juliet or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a theme that's in a lot of love literature. Just one more question then. So you see as somehow inherently part of the experience of loving, overcoming obstacles? Is that part of it? I mean, how do you?
Yeah.
No, I definitely think that love probably shows its best colors in the face of adversity, and I think that you see that with just people in general. That you really conflict is probably the best judge of character than anything else.
If it's too easy, is it frightening in some way? Do you think, or is it not even just frightening? Does it make it less real if it comes easily?
Maybe not less real, but maybe not as firm. Maybe. I don't know that it's less real, because reality is everybody's own perception of where they are in the world. So I mean obviously it's you're qualifying every statement by saying, well, maybe not. But like I said at the beginning, I don't think that love is so easily definable, let alone everybody else's definition on what anything is in the world. Blacks and whites don't really exist, I don't think.